museum in the world with a bar in it. Hey, you know that's why I hang out here. I love museums. I'm proud. Well, anyway, I know why you're all here today. You're here to watch me play some cards, right?
Alright.
Alright, well, I'm going to do that for you. First, let me introduce the friends I'm playing with today. Charlie Rich, come on out. Charlie Rich, a gambler from Italian. Next up, we got Captain William Massey, a retired riverboat captain. There he is. Oh, you don't want to sit there, Captain. That'll ruin your retirement. Right over here. All right, Carl, get on out here. This is Carl Mann, owner of the Saloon. And last but not least, everybody's favorite guy, the bartender, Harry Young. Get out of here, Harry. There he is. All right, like I said, I'm going to play some cards for you. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I am James Butler Hickok. Folks nowadays, well, they like to call me Wild Bill. You know, I was born in Troy Grove, Illinois in 1837. Wait, how old does that make me? 39, exactly right. Good job. Well, anyway, when I was just a kid, I worked on the family farm there at Troy Grove, and well, don't get me wrong, it was a fine life and all, but as I got older, I wanted something more. So I got myself a job. There's a job driving freight. Oh, I loved it too. I got to get out on my own, see some of the country I hadn't seen before, and work on my pistol handling. Yeah, I got real good out there too, shooting that small game and such. It was like a big adventure. Till the Civil War broke out. Yeah, then the Union Army came calling for me. And I fought for the Union during the Civil War. My family, they're abolitionists. They did not believe in slavery. I was a scout and a spy for the Union. Oh, I like that too, except for the fact that I got shot twice. Yeah, I got captured twice, but I escaped twice and I made it through. Well, after the war ended, I liked that scouting so much, I went out with the 10th Cavalry. Eventually the 7th, out on the new frontier. Yeah, it's me, General George Armstrong Custer. I know y'all heard that name before. Well, I'm lucky I got out of there when I did, right? Well, as I'm out there scouting for the boys of the 7th, I noticed a lot of small towns sprouting up out there. Yeah, it seemed like everybody just kind of headed west in this big land grab, you know? Well, it also seemed to me none of them towns had any law in them. Made me want to be a lawman. So that's what I did. I traveled all over Kansas and Nebraska looking for a marshal job or a sheriff job. So eventually, I landed me some. First one, Monticello Township, right outside of Kansas City. Others like Fort Riley, Hays City, oh, a couple more. Till I ended up in Abilene, Kansas. Well, see, Abilene, I got the job as marshal there. But there's this pesky bar owner, a Texas cattleman by the name of Phil Coe. Well, me and Phil, we argued every time we saw each other. Yeah, it was like we didn't see eye to eye on anything. Well, you know how them arguments is going to turn out. Yeah, they're going to come to a head someday. And it did, right there in the streets of Abilene. Oh, I shot Phil Coe dead. He had a lot of friends that day. Yeah, there was a lot of confusion. I heard somebody yell my name, saw movement in the shadows, turned quick, shot again. Shot my deputy, Mike Williams, dead right there in Abilene. That was a bad day. I didn't want to be a lawman anymore after that. So I gave it up. And I moved on. Oh, I bounced around from town to town doing odd jobs just to survive. Like wagon master, teamster, a little more scouting. Anything I could do to earn some money and play cards like these lucky guys are doing right now. Oh. Yeah, like they're doing right now. Hold on a second. Play cards. Oh, there they go. Boy, that was a close one. I didn't think we were going to find a game back here today. Well, as I'm bouncing around the West, I run into a friend of mine, Buffalo Bill Cody. I know y'all know who that is. Well, Buffalo Bill, he tells me he's taking a Wild West show out east. Wants me to join him. So I thought about it for a while. Finally I said, sure, Buffalo Bill, let's take that Wild West show out there and show them Easterners just how wild it really is out here. Truth be told, I didn't care for that all that much. Nah, some people are showmen and some aren't. Buffalo Bill? Now there's a showman for ya. Me? Not so much. Oh, and if you can believe this, them critics tore me apart out there. They said, wow, Bill, you shouldn't even be allowed in the theater as a spectator. Now I know I did the same thing. I laughed at him and then I shot him. No, I didn't really shoot him. But I did tell Buffalo Bill, I said, this is not for me. You know we'll be friends for the rest of our lives. But I gotta be moving on. So I did. I left him behind me again. Oh, now I moved around for a little while longer, doing a lot of that stuff I talked about earlier. Actually, I was just looking for a card game, any town I could find me one in. Until I run into some friends of mine, they told me Cheyenne, over there in Wyoming territory, that's where you need to be, Bill. Saloons, cards every day, get on up there. Well, I can tell you I headed to Cheyenne, and it was not as good to me as I'd hoped. Nah, I went on this long streak of bad luck, you see. I lost all my money at the card table. I ended up penniless in the streets of Cheyenne. You know what they did to me? They arrested me. Told me I was a vagrant. Told me to get out of town and not come back. Well, it's a good thing I talked to my friend Colorado Charlie Utter. This Colorado Charlie, well, it just so happens he's bringing a wagon train to these Black Hills. Deadwood in particular. Oh, they just discovered gold up here. People were flooding in here by the thousands seeking their fortune. I don't blame them either. You should hear the stories they told about this place. They sent an expedition up here just to check things out. And when they found gold, the story they sent back was that the Black Hills was so rich you could pull the grass out by the roots and it would sparkle with gold. Yeah, and there was nuggets too, big ones, just laying around for anybody. You guys find any of them nuggets? No, me neither. But I did know there was gold up here, and well, considering that predicament, I was in there in Cheyenne. I hopped that wagon train with Colorado Charlie. California Joe was on there, Calamity Jane, oh, a host of others. 70 wagons, 70 of them full of people and goods for this town right here. Well, by the way, all them rumors you've been spreading about me and Calamity Jane, Not true. Have you seen her? Nah. How you guys doing today? Coming on through? Alright. I was a married man when I came up here. Yeah, I just married Agnes Lake Thatcher. Oh, we had a wonderful wedding, and then I whisked her away on a honeymoon to Cincinnati. Yeah, you know what? Is that a funny place for a honeymoon? At least it wasn't Cleveland. Right? No, I shouldn't say that. People in Cleveland get mad at me. Anybody here from Cleveland? Oh, no, we're good then. Well, anyway, we honeymooned in Cincinnati a spell. I left her there, told her I was headed back west to make our fortune, so we could settle down. You know, I got to Deadwood on that wagon train with Charlie. I prospected a bit, sure. That really wasn't my thing either. I knew, though, with all those people and all that gold, yeah, there'd be some card games I'd get into. That's how I'm making my fortune, right here at the card table. Looking like an unusual game of cards. You got like 20 cards there, Carl. I'll tell you what, I'm chomping at the bit to get it. Holy cow, you got the other half of the deck. Man, you guys are playing some strange games over here. I am still chomping at the bit to get in and play with you fellas. Besides, I'm pretty sure these folks are all sick of listening to bean talk by now. So I'm gonna head up front. I see a friend of mine up there. I gotta talk to him for just a second, and I'll be right back here to play cards with you guys, alright? Alright, we'll see y'all in the field.
Hi folks, and welcome to the Old Style Saloon number 10. In a few moments, you'll step back in time to witness what happened on that fateful day, August 2nd, 1876, when Wild Bill Hickok was gunned down by crooked-nosed Jack McCall. The employees of the number 10 will set the scene for you, so sit back, hang on to your sarsaparilla, and we'll start from the beginning. It was during the latter part of August, 1875. Frank Bryant and a party of 7 gazed down into a gulch of tangled, broken trees, which from then on was to be known as Deadwood Gulch. They made their way to the bottom and began to pan for gold. Soon the cry of gold echoed up and down the canyon walls. They hastily built a crude cabin east of their find, but nevertheless went on to prospect throughout the northern hills, only to return on November 8, 1875, to post a claim of their discovery. On the very next day, November 9, 1875, a second group filed a claim just short of 3 miles up the creek. This outlined a stretch that was destined to become known as the richest placer claim area, not only in North America, but the entire Western Hemisphere. As news of this bonanza leaked out, the rush was on, resulting in a flood of mankind from all directions. The Army could no longer stop the invasion of the fortune hunters. By August 2nd of 1876, Deadwood Gulch, now known as Deadwood City, and often referred to as Sin City, had acquired a worldwide reputation as a booming metropolis. Its surrounding hills and creeks were loaded with gold. Even greenhorns were said to be able to find nuggets, well, as they put it, bigger than horse turds. Its streets were lined with substantial businesses, offering everything from an opera house to dance halls, saloons and banks, stores of every sort, but mainly saloons and gambling dens. Deadwood Gulch was jam-packed with every variety of mankind, good and bad. The likes of Wild Bill Hickok, Seth Bullock, Wyatt Earp, Calamity Jane, Colorado Charlie Otter, California Joe, and Preacher Smith. Somewhere between 4,000 to 6,000 of them. They came with greed or lust and high ideals, but the frenzied excitement that Deadwood provided well satisfied their pioneer spirits. 2 guys named Nuttall and Mann couldn't picture themselves seeking their fortune as prospectors, and instead built a house on their placer claim, number 10, which became known as Saloon number 10. On the morning of August 2nd, 1876, Harry Young was tending bar in the number 10. His hair was greased, as was customary for bartenders in gold camps. This was essential as part of a method used by bartenders to collect a little extra loot for themselves. Before reaching into a prospector's poke for a pinch of gold to collect for a given whiskey, the bartender would rub his fingers through his greasy hair, thus oiling them well. He would deposit the unoiled gold dust into the boss's take, and by again rubbing his fingers through his hair, redeposit the oily flakes where it could be washed out later. It's said that there was a bald-headed barkeep who was known to have half a dozen hair pieces, all well oiled. His take was enormous, as the laundering process was more efficient. The dance hall girls had arrived on Colorado Charlie Utter's wagon train in late June, ready and willing to entertain the thousands of eligible prospectors. Some came with hopes of finding the right man. Others came simply to make their own fortune. Their attire, somewhat more revealing than what was thought to be proper, was looked down upon by those trained in ladylike etiquette, but nonetheless, they brought to the gold rush an air of reckless, dazzling excitement. By August 2nd, 1876, they were well established up and down Deadwood City's main street, working around the clock in one fashion or the other. Honky-tonk piano and their songs of promising spirit filled the air. Many an unlucky prospector could find hope for tomorrow, for he knew what the night would bring. About 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Wild Bill Hickok entered Saloon number 10, seeking a little poker action. Charlie Rich, a gambler from Cheyenne, Carl Mann, owner of Saloon number 10, and Captain Massey, a riverboat captain from Missouri, were engaged in a game of draw poker and were quick to invite Bill to join them. Wild Bill's reputation demanded that he be exceedingly cautious. For instance, he never liked to sit with his back to the door. The vacant seat was so located, and a lively debate between Charlie Rich and Bill resulted in an attempt on Bill's part to get Charlie's chair.
I don't care how lucky it is, Charlie. I sit there, you
Bill was not given his request, and grudgingly, with great hesitation, took the empty chair. But after a few minutes, he stood up, and again asked Charlie for his chair.
Dang it, Charlie, I can't sit here and you know it. Now get out of my chair.
Bill didn't win this argument either, and on this rare occasion, he settled down, sitting with his back to the door. Wariness, though, kept Bill alert, for all knew him to be a left-handed drinker, leaving his right hand free to handle his pistol. As unpredictable as card games are, Bill found himself quickly losing to Massey, who had lost to Bill the night before. Bill asked Harry for $15 worth of pocket checks. Harry brought them over to Bill and returned to the bar and his duties. Soon, a shifty drifter known as Jack McCall entered the saloon. Bill quickly turned while drawing his gun. Recognizing McCall as a newcomer to town, he greeted him with a friendly,
"Howdy, Jack."
Then reholstered his gun and resumed the game. Jack slowly circled the table, pausing briefly behind each player and analyzing each hand. Wild Bill's attention was on Massey. There was a friendly argument between them, and Wild Bill remarked,
"Massey, you bet them all. I'm going to take them from you eventually anyway. You might as well get them."
Upon returning directly behind Wild Bill, suddenly Jack McCall,
"Take that, dang you!"
The bullet struck Bill on the back of the head, coming out of his left cheek and lodged in Captain Massey's left arm. It was discovered soon after the cards Bill was holding were aces and eights, forever known as the dead man's hand. All fled the saloon except Carl Mann, who was held at bay by McCall. Jack snapped the trigger of his gun several times. It failed to fire. He then ran out the door and up the street. He was found hiding in a building behind a butcher shop. Later on in the day, he was tried in a minor's court. The jury, being tainted and influenced by a deceitful defense, found McCall not guilty, and he was released. This decision not only outraged the judge, but also the general populace. McCall left the camp in haste. Upon reaching supposed safety in Wyoming, he began bragging of his ignoble deed. Word of this reached a U.S. Marshal who tracked McCall down, arrested him, and sent him to Yankton to be tried again in Dakota Territory. It was determined, since the first trial was held in Indian Territory, that it was not legal. McCall was found guilty and hung for his cowardly crime. He was buried in an unmarked grave on the edge of town. Later, as the town grew, the cemetery was moved. As the coffins were opened, one corpse was found with a rope around its neck. It was easily identified as Jack McCall, the assassin of Wild Bill. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Volunteers, they did a great job.
We do 4 shows every day.
Thank you guys, you did fantastic. Hey, we'll be up here for a little while if you want a picture with me or with Jack.